Alright, we survived our first night in this camper. It was really cold, but we got coffee on the go on my little Keurig. I just took Sierra out for a pee, but then she immediately went back to bed. Are you cold? It is cold in here, isn't it? Yeah. No. My beautiful baby. I'm gonna make my coffee. Nothing weird woke us up in the middle of the night, which is nice. But it was cold. Whew. Alright, so first thing up on the agenda today, I left Sierra and the trailer. We're still getting used to this place, so. But I gotta figure out how to haul this project inside. Matt doesn't quite know exactly what he wants to do with this, but we're thinking big block Chevy. But anyways, I gotta get it in, start stripping it down, seeing what it needs. I don't know how I'm supposed to get this in the shop because I'm gonna have to like pull it and drag it or something. I'll probably have to ask the guys for help. Anyways, I got my key, coffee. It's so cold here this morning. It was so hot yesterday. Alright. Oh, it's actually warm in here. Thank goodness, because it's so cold outside. The other thing I was wondering is how I could block this off. So that I could just put Sierra here instead of having to move her kennel again, because that was a pain in my ass. It's way colder in the camper. I really need to just get like a gate or something and put it across. She'll be fine in the trailer for today, but going forward as it's winter time, she'll have to be in the shop with me because it's warmer in here. And then there's all this stuff, which is, I think, Matt's stuff. It's like stuff from the old camera house. And they still haven't got it moved. And then there's like a bunch of workout equipment. So I guess first step is going to be finding a home for this stuff, but it's not mine, so I don't really know what to do with it. But I think, I don't know how we're going to do this. So that truck's not going to fit in this bay. We still they're planning on putting up a bay door here instead of it being the sliding door, so I can actually fit trucks in this bay. So that's going to be a lot of what I'm doing is trucks, but this thing, I guess we'll have to move. I'll have to move this and then move my transmission. I don't think that's not going to fit in this door either. I don't know if any of those run. They're not mine, so. Well, shoot. Well, I'm gonna start, I don't know, figuring some stuff out here. I might have to go talk to Luke and Babo, although I don't know if they're up because they were up late last night working on something. It's turned out to be a nice day though, so at least it'll warm up in the trailer a bit. Alright, so I'm back out here looking at this truck, but I got some more background on it from Luke. So this truck came from Vancouver Island, I think is what he said, and it's sitting on a military vehicle frame. It's had a bunch of different motors and trans in it. Right now it's got 2 transmissions butted up together, and one of them is C, so that doesn't work. After taking a closer look, this front axle is bent. And the frame just is sitting weird, so I don't know if the frame is bent too, but it needs quite a bit of work, and it's had quite a bit of stuff done to it. Somebody has made this tin hood, which pretty much garbage. Basically, it's pretty rotten under here too. Somebody's just filled it with fiberglass, so like that's all gonna have to be repaired. But after talking to Matt, I think I have him convinced that we scrap this chassis and we put it on a different chassis. So I'm gonna start looking for new chassis to put this on, and then I can just take the cab off and the flat deck off and reuse that, and hopefully already find a chassis that already has a motor and trans. This thing, these are the stacks that were on it, which are pretty ugly looking, but this needs a lot of work, so I think it'll just be easier to find a different chassis. So I'm gonna start looking for that. I'm gonna talk to Luke and see if he has any ideas on what kind of chassis would work best with this, or if there is one for sale. But it definitely needs a lot of work.
There you go. What does it say? It's kind of hard to read. Okay, so motor 17.
Show you some of the other stuff that's sitting here at the yard that's also Matt's, that he's gonna get me to do some oddball stuff too. It's also Matt's truck, Woody. The boys have already done quite a bit of work to that one, but this is the other car that Matt wants me to do something with. I know literally nothing about this car. It's pretty cool. I don't even know what kind of chassis it's sitting on or anything, but or if it even runs and drives. I've got very little information on all these vehicles, but I'm hoping that Matt comes here on Tuesday and we can go over everything and get a build sheet going for all these different vehicles. Oh, projects. My Corvette is showing up on Friday, which is nice, and then I'm gonna compression test it, pull the heads off, and see if the motor actually needs to be rebuilt or if I can just do a soft rebuild on it, but we'll see. See when it gets here. Alright, so I've asked Luke what he thinks is going to be the best chassis to try to look for. I've never done a cab swap, so he's going to give me a little bit on what I should be looking for.
Alright, so this is a very unique truck, obviously. The chassis is from a military truck, the cab's off a 51 Chevy, and the front's completely custom. Now, I happen to know the history on this truck. It originally was built with a Detroit diesel in it. None of this really is worth keeping. The front axle's bent, does have a good 14 bolt, and the cab's really cool. So I would suggest we look for an older regular cab, whatever, K30 chassis. Even if it doesn't have an engine and trans in it, if we start off with a solid Chevrolet chassis, I've always found that if you stick with the same manufacturer, things always end up being easier, even when you're going full custom. So that's what I think we should look for, is a 1-ton Chevy truck chassis that was factory 4-wheel drive. Hopefully it's got a good Dana 60 in it, not bent like this, and a matching 14 bolt. Then we've got an extra 14 bolt. We carefully remove this cab, drop it down onto that chassis, build custom mounts, and even if that happens to be a small block truck, those Chevys are set up to take any Chevrolet engine.
Yeah.
So it'll simplify it, speed the process up. It's just finding one. And then you got to find one where it's bad enough that you're willing to pull the cab off, but good enough that the chassis is good underneath. Sometimes you get lucky, and one of the builds we did in the past, we found a really clean chassis because they had cab swapped the crew cab Chevy cab onto a newer Dodge chassis with a Cummins. And then we had picked up the Chevrolet chassis with its Dana 60 and 14 bolt, built a quick square body with a 350 in it and flipped it. So that's what I think we should do, is try to find a good solid K30 chassis. Up to, I believe, 87, 88 was the last year of the square body 1-ton. Because as soon as they went to the OBS style Chevy, you're looking at independent front suspension.
Yeah.
And independent front suspension it's good for some stuff, but it's a pain in the ass to build. It's in the way when you're trying to drop custom engines in, and it's a quarter as strong. So that's what we should look for.
That sounds all good to me.
Yeah.
Well, the metal fab side of everything, like making the custom mounts, is like
That's
easy enough.
Yeah. We have the tools, we have the welders, we have the skill. It won't be an issue.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's going to be my first go around of doing a lot of mechanical work. So
that's fine.
it's going to be a lot of learning curves. So I'm glad that I got some insight.
You're a fast learner. I can show you the mechanical side. You can give me tips on how to make stuff look pretty.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
We'll have to build the new firewall and everything for this, but I mean, it's in rough shape, but they're so easy, these cabs, that it's...
Well, and we're not looking at you're not looking at restoring this thing back to factory. So you just use heavy gauge, good steel. You can build a nice filler panel here. We could reutilize this.
Well, and I like these.
Right.
Whatever, they're...
the checker plate running boards now, and they can easily be trimmed down at the back to everything fit the new chassis.
Yeah.
They can be trimmed right here to be
steel
narrower.
Checker plate? Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And it's nice and solid. The front bumper's overkill.
Yeah.
But it's
cool. Also just heavy. I actually have some heavy duty tube bumpers that are full of, I think they're full of sand because they're heavy. But I could even take this front off, build different mounts for a different grill, and...
Yeah.
Because all this, like, the hood that they built and this grill that they built is...
Yeah, and
trash.
I know for a fact that this is not the original hood that was built with this truck.
Yeah.
This truck came from Vancouver Island back in the day. Gentleman that's no longer with us, Chris Borton, built custom trucks in the 80s and 90s. And the chassis is a military chassis that had a 12V71 Detroit diesel in it. And he adapted, this cab used to sit in a field just down the road from a place called My Chosen Cafe. And he bought the cab and dropped it on this chassis. Mm-hmm. And then they built this, which in the beginning looked really good.
Yeah.
Now, the hood was not this hood. I know that for a fact. Because the original hood sat down and it had filler panels that went up to there.
Yeah.
And a space where you could see the Detroit.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking after Mr. Morton passed away, whoever ended up with the truck put these on. They put these on.
This is just tin too. This isn't even...
Yeah, it's just pop riveted tin. And yeah, I know for a fact that wasn't what was on there. This was.
Yeah.
But it also wasn't... It had a different kind of setup on the front of it. Cool. Yeah. These are off of a Peterbilt. Cool. I know that for sure. And yeah, that's why the chassis is so thick. And if you go like this, you will see that this chassis is not hollow. I don't know what it's filled with, but it is filled with something. This truck weighs, I actually overloaded my flat deck with it. With it on the flat deck, with the engine in it, the flat deck weighed 12,500. My trailer's only good for 10K. So I figured, it'll weigh 7,000 pounds. It's a full-size pickup frame. I didn't know they built it out of a military truck until we found it again. And things like this whole dual transmission setup.
Yeah, yeah.
It needs to go, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's just going to be easier to start fresh because there's so many hands that have been on this with so many different works. There's definitely parts I can utilize from it and keep it the same look, but I think a new chassis.
Yeah, you utilize the cab and useful stuff off of this and start with a good working foundation. Because that's always the base for any build mechanically. Yeah. Is to start with a good foundation.
Yeah.
And this is not a good foundation. It's got a bent Dana 60, some kind of crazy military frame. It's been cobbled together by at least half a dozen people since it was originally built. And I'm going to age myself here, but I was 15 the first time I saw this truck drive. He actually lived around the corner from my parents' house.
That
was 1995. So, and he drove it for a solid 5-10 years. I seen it all over the place. Then it disappeared. Then I saw it again, and I know it had a 454 and an automatic in it. Then it disappeared again, and then we picked it up for Mr. Producer Man.
Yeah.
Hey, Bobo, where did we pick up Grumpy?
What?
Where did we pick Grumpy up at?
Langley.
Langley. And you might be wondering, why do I call it Grumpy? Come with me. We name all our vehicles, right? Even if we're just picking them up, everything's got a name. Everything's got a character.
Well, that makes it easier too.
So, yeah. It's got like the welded on light duty hitch to the back of here.
Yeah.
Look at the rear diff cover. See it?
Oh my god. Oh, that's what you call it, Grumpy.
That's why it's Grumpy.
That's funny.
So we got it up on the trailer and I was like, well, this truck has its name, it's Grumpy. But like you said, we could utilize this bed, trim it, cut it, you know, obviously the cool 5-window cab, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, and the cab needs, I mean, the top of the cab is actually not bad.
It's got some thin spots, but it's not rotted right through completely.
Yeah, and like somebody's went in and already repaired it with like fiberglass.
Yeah, it's,
you know, so like,
oh, you gotta,
that's pretty
this
cool.
is funny. The first time we ever filmed with this truck, we'll have to take a look back, go to the Junkyard Resurrection YouTube channel, and check out episode 1, where we explain the structural umbrella that was holding this corner together.
There was an umbrella holding it together?
It might even still be in here. I'll let you take a look. And like, look at the gauge cluster.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there it is. Structural umbrella.
The umbrella.
Yeah, so it was like stuck right here. And we figured we're not going to move it because it's a structural umbrella.
That's funny.
Here's one of the tanks held in with, like, just everything about it is, it's a cool parts truck. And look at this door.
Yeah, well, this is all common. Like, that's pretty easy.
Yeah, that's an easy fix for you.
Yeah.
And then check out the transmission tunnel that they made.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that. Like, what?
I'm going to crawl up in here. I haven't even been in here yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty nasty.
Yeah, and it's got like a clutch pedal.
Well, and you can tell whoever built this was a welder, and it's always funny when welders build stuff because one, everything's always square. There's never any like round movement. Like, it's always square, and the welds are so overkill. Yeah.
Pop rivets, the weird trucker clutch pedal.
Hot rivets and
it's got a brake pedal out of a car and a cut down throttle. The return spring's a bungee. Here's the throttle cruise control, the guy called it. Yeah. So it's got cool stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, see, and like that's where you just rip all that out and start fresh.
If I remember correctly too, it's got 6 air horns. Because the original build...
I guess that's probably why that compressor's in the back.
Yeah, well, the original build on this truck had air over hydraulic Rockwell brakes. Because it had 2-ton or 2.5-ton Rockwell diffs in it. So this giant air compressor here was actually hung off the front of the industrial 409 that Bobo and I yarded out of this thing. I mean, just that alone is going to burn 100 horse to run. Like, and it doesn't need it. Juice brakes and 1-ton diffs on a good chassis would be perfect for this cab.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it originally had those big military Michelins on it. But with those on it, it was too tall to fit under things when we put it on the trailer. So we put factory size. And this tire, you can look, that's an E-rated regular 3/4-ton truck tire.
Yeah.
That's got 100 PSI in it.
And it's still...
And it looks like it's flat because of how heavy this thing is. those leaves are completely flat. And if you look, the way they have them built,
Yeah.
the military wrap is up against a different military wrap in the front.
Okay.
And the shackles kind of go this way when they should go. Like,
Yeah.
everything about it is very much, ironically, how I like to call it, YouTubed together.
I feel that.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, that pretty much covers it. Oh, and the starter's pooched.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be better to start with a just straight up chassis, rip all that out there, rebuild the firewall.
Yep, and then you save the Dana 60 for parts. You got a good 14 bolt.
One.
Take the cab off, put it on sawhorses, and build it, right?
Yeah, which makes it easier.
Yep. It's got good mirrors.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, thanks for the background on it.
No problemo.
It's pretty interesting, some of the backyard builds I get to see and fix. It's honestly like, I mean, it's got some rot. No more once I start stripping it down, but honestly, it doesn't look that bad. Gonna refill these propane bottles so I actually have heat tonight.
Everybody uses 68 Dodge trucks to go get propane, right? So the perfectly good 2017 that's sitting over there.
I've never had to refill propane bottles before, so I have zero clue what I'm doing. Camper life is going to be hard to get used to.
See, I don't think like that, right? So I'm like, why would they, like, you gotta bust into this elaborate ratchet strap packaging just to get to it? Like, is ratchet strap theft that big of a thing? I don't know. I'm not in the ratchet strap game. So, I don't know. Okay.
I guess if they figure they make their packaging really tough to get into, you know, your ratchet straps are going to be extra tough too.
I guess. But, you know, it's kind of like locks, right? You know the purpose of locks, right? Isn't to keep your stuff safe. It's to keep honest people honest.
Yeah.
If you've got a legit criminal, no matter what you do, if they want to take your stuff and you're not around,
They're going to take
they're
your
gonna
stuff.
take it.
Yeah. Whether they cut the lock or pick it.
yeah. Like, I mean, there's a guy with a, and ironically it says he's a lawyer or whatever on the old TikTok, where he shows just how pathetic locks really are.
Yeah.
And I think that's his name, lock picking lawyer. Figured the old boy would have done that. Tell old guys, because like there's an extra bolt holding down the propane thing. Doesn't need one. There's a giant wing nut. All it does is serve to make it more difficult to get the tanks out. And I believe, so if these are right, they were visually requalified in 2018, which means you have till 2028.
How many years?
10.
Oh, I see.
Now, usually they have a stamp on the side, which would be up here. So the original one was the 12th month of 2006, which would bring you to 2016. So we'll have to point out the sticker, because a lot of people are trained to look here. And this even says note visual requalification sticker. And the valve has a date on it too. Yeah. So these tanks were revalved in 2018, because essentially you can do 20 years is the max. So after 10 years you need to get it requalified. Then at 20 years they'll change the valves. And I mean, I can tell by looking at these. Actually, that one might be original. That one's been revalved. This one hasn't. So it must have passed all the tests. So if you look at these two valves, visually, do you see the difference?
Yes.
This is a later blow-off valve. That's what these two little
Okay.
nipples are for. This is the original valve, the old style. There's nothing unsafe about these. Neither one of them will flow propane. Like, put it this way, they won't turn into blowtorches,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
This one, if it gets too hot, will relieve the pressure. This one won't. It probably has, yeah. So it's got a blow-off valve on the back, much like this one is sealed. See the difference?
Yeah.
And if you look at the back of that one,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
right.
Okay.
So this one, these two nipples will go pop, pop, and it'll vent. This one will vent out of here.
Good to know.
Propane bottles are the safest thing out there. It's
Yeah.
actually safer than a gas tank in a car.
Yeah.
But because it's not as stable of a fuel, they use extra precautions.
It was
And
more explosive.
yeah, so when it's in, like, it needs to be in a gas form to be burned. It needs to be in a liquid form to be transported. So it's got to go in the liquid form to be transported. You can only fill 80% because when it burns or travels, it expands.
Okay.
It turns into a gas. Where's my little... I have been meaning to add hooks right here, but it should be low enough that we can go like this. Yeah, before you were even born, and even when I was your age, propane was like the next big thing, because it was just before the diesel truck craze.
Yeah.
So we didn't have Cummins and Power Stroke, and well, we had the Cummins, but not the Power Stroke, except for the first gen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tighten, come on. Awkward.
Like I still have friends that run all their off-road vehicles on propane and stuff.
Yep. It's a good fuel. But
I was
all
gonna
these,
swap my my square body into propane, and it's got a small block 400 in it. And they
it'll
a
run.
little
It'll
hotter.
run much cleaner inside.
Yeah, well, and the 400 already runs hot, or like hotter than the 350.
Yeah.
And apparently propane makes it hotter motor anyway.
If it's run right, see, lean means the engine runs hot.
Yeah.
Rich means it'll run cooler because the fuel atomization, but, well, fuel atomization going through and the raw fuel in the engine. That's where you got to find the right tune. If you have a good propane mixer, it'll actually run cooler on propane.
Cool.
Yep.
And I got dual tanks under my truck too, and they sell like dual propane propane tanks that you can put under them.
Yeah. Well, all the guys back in the day, because it wasn't normal to replace your truck every 2 years like guys do now. So like my old man had a 77 F-250 trailer special with
Yeah.
a 460 big block in it. Now he never went to propane, but a lot of guys, when they price a gas, everybody freaked out when it got to 50 cents a liter. Because it was always 42, 47, 44, 46, 49.9.
Yeah.
And then when it went to 52 cents a liter, everybody freaked out. So you could get propane conversions and you'd be laughing.
Yeah. So do we want to haul this over right now?
Yeah, let's go over and top it up.
Sounds good. So
Mine
that
as well.
Well, thank you.
No problem. Oh yeah, safety third. Don't forget your buckle. She rides like a 1968 heavy 3/4 ton camper special. That's for sure.
It's a rough ride.
It's not, I've been in a lot worse. She gets the job done, that's for sure. It does not ride like a newer truck.
Yeah. My square body's got the 6-inch lift, but it's lifted with the springs. And so with them being so arced, it's like,
Yeah,
it's a rough ride. I almost gotta get one of those seats on a spring.
Yeah, like one of the Mastercraft suspension seats, that
Yeah.
could work. Or an air seat.
Yeah, because it's pretty hard when you're riding through rough roads on it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, if you're not going to use it off-road a lot, spring lift kits, fine. But the problem is it's so difficult to lift your truck the other way compared to just doing springs, right?
Yeah. The springs are cheap, so it's good.
Yeah. And simple. You're not going to worry about 4 lanes or any of that stuff. I quite like this. Almo found that. It's obviously new, but it kind of suits the truck.
This, that bridge that we just went through scares the shit out of my dog. She doesn't like it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wonder why. Just feeling like,
Like going faster, like kind
Yeah.
of arrow.
man, some of the tunnels I've been through on road trips, like when Bobo and I took that, we got that 71 Dodge out of the barn,
Yeah.
worked on it in the driveway for a few weeks, and then drove it from Victoria to Laval, Quebec, down to the Chrysler Nationals, or Mopar Nationals, whatever you want to call them, in Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
in Carlisle, and then all the way back to the U.S. I can't remember what state it was, but there was one, the tunnel, it was like, must have been 5 minutes,
Yeah.
just straight tunnel.
That's crazy. Yeah, I hate going through tunnels actually. But
Yeah, we still hold the record for the Will It Run longest road trip. I challenge anyone out there, if they can prove that they went just a titch over 10,000 kilometers in an original drivetrain vehicle, not something like, I wouldn't count this truck. The engine's been done, it's got a fresh trans in it, it's got a diff out of an 03. Obviously, I've done everything. I'm talking a Will It Run Revival 318, 302, 350 Chef, whatever. Bring it back up to life, do the minimal safety stuff, and drive it. We hold the record. We went just over 10,000 kilometers.
wow.
4-wheel manual drum brakes, manual steering. The only upgrade was an aluminum radiator and a 4-barrel carb. So, I'm quite proud of it.
Yeah, it's a long trip.
Yeah, it was insane. And I mean, yeah, we had breakdowns, but it made it.
Yeah, well, and the nice thing about those too is when you break down, you just have to have like a pack-out toolkit.
Yep.
And you got everything you need.
Yeah, one time it was the points because I forgot to turn the key off. And we had the old Edelbrock Torker intake manifold, Torker 340 manifold. The hole for the thermostat housing,
Yeah.
the bolt was stripped. That
Yeah,
happened
there's two
in...
ladies giving us smiles, both on bikes.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
Next year I'm gonna have my own bike.
I'll let you look at the fun part. I like showing off my truck, what can I say? Oh, you know what I did?
What?
Mad. Ooh, look at that.
What? Yeah.
So, I was a bit distracted chatting away, and I've known to do this rookie mistake.
You can't get that all the way open now?
I'll be able to when I move it, but I would laugh at Bobo when he does this. And in fact, luckily I'm strong. But yeah, because I'm chatting away with you and I'm on camera, I'm like, oh, I better see, now if we were on reality TV, that would have been some big dramatic fight, or we would have reshot it and I didn't make that mistake, right?
Yeah.
But reality TV is all real, isn't it, Cassidy?
Oh, for sure it is.
Yeah. I am gonna go get the propane attendant, which is right there. Hey, can I get some service over here or what? I need the propane. You don't gotta yell at me. You hurt my feeling, Amon. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. This is my friend Cassidy.
Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you.
to her.
Oh yeah,
Or
sure.
you'll deal with me, all right?
Always.
Okay, cool,
yeah.
bro. We're buddies. I'm not just being mean to random people.
If you can't bully your friends, who can you bully? Two ladies riding a trike and a bike. For the past 3 years I said I was gonna get a bike, but I just haven't had the finances to. Almost did, but next year for sure. And we gotta get my dad's Harley fixed for my little brother, and then we can both ride. It's sick.
A few moments later.
We're back.
Success. All right. And we'll pop that back in. Tired of running out? Apparently. It says, tired of running out of propane? Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't be? I guess it's like a, maybe it was like a delivery service?
Yeah, maybe.
Lift. So this is the switch to go from tank to tank? I don't know. But now we'll be able to do, I'm glad this thing's got the nice ones.
Yeah.
The outer ones that seal way better. So, as I'm sure you probably already figured out, that means there's no propane flowing, right?
Yeah.
Come on, get down there. Isn't super essential. So, we'll start with the left tank. Let's open this up, bam. So we got good flow. Green is good. That will start to become red, the less propane and less pressure in the system. So now, let's go see if we can fire that fridge up. Hi,
She
Sierra.
just threw her ball out there. That's why
What?
she's. Okay, I'll
Get
get
at it. I'm gonna.
I just leave it there. She threw it at me.
Did you throw the ball at your mother? All right. So, what I like to do to get the air out of the lines is make sure they're all off. That's the stove is off, oven. So we pick the front burner, turn it to light. And that's normal because there's air in the lines, right?
Yeah.
It takes time. But imagine having to do this with the fridge, right?
Yeah.
So because this is past the fridge, this sucker's been sitting a while with that line open.
Yeah. Well, there you
There it
go.
goes. But you can imagine, because it only opens the valve on the fridge when you're trying to light it.
Yeah.
So now, you don't gotta leave it going. Propane's out of the line. We'll turn that off. Okay, up here, on is in. And then we're gonna listen for the igniter. Come on, igniter.
So when I first was in here, it was working and then it stopped, but I think
It might have.
there's also like instructions there at the bottom
Well,
of the freezer.
this is the frost thing. Yeah, I shouldn't need the instructions. I'm pretty good with this stuff. This just tells you to start up, the
Yeah.
cycling through the gas thing. What does that say?
It's climate control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It hasn't gone to check yet, so we'll go outside and see if I can hear it running away. So right here is your refrigerator. Sounds like she's lit. Turn these. Yep, it fired right up first try.
Sweet.
I don't know what these are for.
All sorts of hidden goodies in there.
Yeah, there's tons of surprises. I don't know what that was for. It might have had a different fridge when it was brand new,
Yeah.
but it lit and they're on, or it's on. So this is your 110.
Yeah.
Maybe use the ear that works there, Big Easy. And then you see, like, why is there, what are those for? But if you bend down and listen right here, or even put the camera right there, you'll hear
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can
it's
hear.
going up the flue. So, RV bridges always work better on propane.
Yeah.
So what I like to do,
Oh yeah, it's already starting to get colder in there.
yep, I like to use the propane to get it really cold,
Yeah.
and then I turn the propane off overnight,
Okay.
because the electric will keep it cold,
Yeah.
and then in the morning you put it back on propane and it stays cold during the heat of the day.
Cool.
Now let's see if the furnace works. So, furnace auto cool hot, crank it. Now the blower will come on and then it should cycle through. I'm gonna go listen and see if it's cycling.
All right.
You'll hear the piezo igniter going click, 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 click.
Doing something quick over there.
Hear that? Sounds like a jet engine out here.
Yeah. Nice.
That is why we got all the air out of the system.
Yeah.
So, furnace
Sweet.
is on, it's burning. Now, we'll make sure your hot water works.
I think the switch has to be flicked.
Yeah, so this needs to be switched for electric hot water.
Oh, okay.
This is your gas hot water heater. And if it lights right away, that won't come on.
Okay.
And we'll hear a loud jet sound out of it. And it, oh, click, 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 click. Listen out the door, you'll hear it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Is
Okay.
it clicking? Or is
Well,
it
I
lit?
heard one click in there, and I don't hear another click.
Okay, so if you go back to, not that first one, but
The
that
last
rear
one?
panel, don't put your hand on the grate, obviously.
Oh yeah, it's
trying-
clicking.
It's cycling through, because it's further away than the stove.
Oh,
Everything
there-
else isn't. It's like bleeding brakes, right?
Yeah, it just went.
There's heat coming out of it now?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Cool.
Okay, so now, this is on gas,
Okay.
which means it will cycle. You'll hear it cycle, and you don't have to worry about hitting this switch up to here.
Okay.
Because when it's on gas, the sensor will say, I'm on gas, I don't need electricity. Bada bing, bada boom. Your furnace is blowing warm air. You just set it like any other furnace would here, right here,
All right.
right?
Okay, so
Hear the
up
tick?
is hotter.
Yeah. Hear that?
Yeah.
So down is off, and then if you just want the fan, say you want circulation,
Yeah.
you can just turn the fan to on and system to off.
Okay.
Or furnace and all the way down, fan on, whatever you want to do.
Okay. Sweet.
Celsius on the left, Fahrenheit on the right. And then you're not plugged into 200 amp service, so don't turn on the AC unit.
Okay.
But I don't think you'll need it now. And if this thing starts going berserk,
Yeah.
you'll hear it. If that starts going crazy, get out of the trailer and come get me.
Okay.
Middle of the night, don't investigate, don't do anything. If that starts going bonkers, get out.
Yeah, like it'll start to beep.
Oh, you'll know. It's
Yeah.
louder than a fire extinguisher. It'll
Okay.
scream at you. That's your CO2.
Okay.
And if you ever open this door and you have an overwhelming, like, ow, my eyes, what the hell?
Yeah.
Close the door, don't open it again, come get me.
Okay.
Other than that, you're good. We'll leave
Sick.
the hot water going because it's full, right? You got full tanks of fresh water?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So your water pump is on. I always like to turn on the hot water tap to make sure your hot water tank's full. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's right, Bobo checked the plug. So we gotta go make sure, when you come back in, turn that on, but you're gonna make sure the hot water tank's not leaking and that it's full. Because you can burn up your tank if it's not full of water.
Yeah.
Now, I'm pretty confident that we put the plug in it when it got here. That's right, yep. So it's got a valve on it.
Okay.
It was open, Bobo closed it. Yeah. You're good?
Sweet. Well,
It's
I appreciate the help.
No problemo. I did RVs for many years.
This is my first RV and my first trailer living experience.
It can be extremely fun and great, especially when you're by yourself. I lived in one for a couple years working out of town. It's a lot cheaper than a house. I could move it whenever I wanted, and once you get it all dialed, you're laughing.
Yeah, now I just gotta get skirting for the bottom. Skirt it all in
Yeah.
for the winter time.
Yep. And you want to always, even if you're not here, leave the furnace on like 10.
Okay.
When it gets really cold, it'll keep the pipes from freezing.
Okay.
And ironically, what people don't think about is their black tank
Yeah,
and their
I've
gray
been
tank
told
freezing.
that. Yeah.
And that's why I like to skirt them in, because it keeps everything warm.
Yeah.
All right, well, you should be good. We'll get an idea of how much this thing consumes on how long that first tank lasts. And then we'll know how often you need propane.
Awesome. Well,
You got
thank you very
60
much.
pounds of it now.
Back there.
Okay, so we'll make sure that the water pump is on. And when the fresh water starts to get empty, we can always refill it with the hose. Yeah, I'm already starting to feel a little bit of warm water, so that's good. Yeah, and then you can leave this pump on during the day
Yeah.
when you're in here. I always like to go like that.
Yeah, I've just been shutting everything off until I like need to use it. Cause
Yeah, till you get dialed and you know.
Yeah.
If this is on, that means that the gas went off.
Okay.
If you put it on auto, it's going to switch to electric.
Okay.
So leave it on gas unless you want electric.
Okay.
And yeah, like I said, gas will make it. Yeah, like if you put your hand in there now, you can already feel that it's getting cooler.
Yeah, and the fridge too. When I opened up the fridge, I could
Yep.
instantly feel that it was getting a little cooler.
Wicked. All right, Cassidy. Well, you are set up.
Well, thanks so much for your help.
No problemo. Production vehicle, run, hide.
Oh no. It's the dreaded cameraman.
Yes.
Well, Sierra and him have been playing together. Although now she's got bloody paws because she's insane when she runs over this gravel and the cement. She She literally, yeah, she scuffed both of like the backs of her pads and the back of one of her, I don't know, weird reverse joint on her back leg.
You would think that's
And then she got blood everywhere.
with licking his legs. You know what, buddy? If you would just stop, like dog.
You know, yeah, come here. You see this black line on Sierra's head? That's for when she ran into my car door because she was trying to push her ball into my car. My little brother kicked the ball out from underneath the car and she ran into the corner of my car and like cut herself down to the bone on her skull. Didn't wince, didn't yelp, didn't nothing. Continued to chase after the ball and then came back all happy with blood dripping down her head. And then she's got another scar on her kneecap from Rust Bros because she jumped off of the couch trying to get after her ball and jumped into an antique chainsaw and like split the skin from her muscle. She got all sorts of scars from doing stupid stuff trying to get the ball. She's just like one-track mind. And that's on having a pit bull.
Ball life.
Ball life, yeah. You did not be so freaking psychotic.
Well, what's the fun in that, though?